Jacob Bain. He's going to be talking to you about another example of how he has used iPads in teaching.
All right, I'm Jacob Bain, instructional designer over at Fisher. So let me go ahead and swipe through, and I'm going to make Tim really mad and switch apps here. So let's give this a shot. All right, will do. So pretty much, I'm going to talk to you about the MBOE program over at Fisher, and then let's see if I can get it to go. Maybe not. All right, so pretty much the MBOE program at Fisher it's a 12-month program. We have about 40 to 45 students, and the way that this works is that students are on campus 8 times throughout that entire period. Okay, so in the past, every time they were on campus, they basically got this gigantic 3-inch binder. That's a real big pain, because if you've ever flown and you have just carry-on luggage, and then you have a giant 3-inch binder, where do you put it, right? So the idea then was to migrate all of that to an iPad, okay? And you can see this fun little picture we have over here in the top right that basically has our old binders in front of an iPad, okay? So why the iPad? Sort of at like the time when we were looking at this last summer, the iPad was sort of the sexy option, okay? And it was sort of the mainstream option. Now there's a lot of big options out there today beyond the iPad, okay? But I think for the second iteration, which we're actually planning for right now, we're going to be sticking with the iPad. So definitely the iPad's sort of been working well for us. And sort of the big thing that we found out during this planning was that the cost of all those 8 binders, the inks, and the paper was actually sort of equal to the actual cost of an iPad. Okay, so it's not that we're actually even charging students more money. We basically just, instead of giving them paper and binders, we give them an iPad instead. Okay, so sort of roles and responsibilities here. MBOE, so all of the content was sort of from faculty. They sort of coordinated the materials, things like that. And what we did was basically sort of did the initial course design, and then sort of actually did a training for students the first day on campus. So as soon as students got iPads during that first session there on campus, we did an hour-and-a-half long training, basically saying, how do you use an iPad? What is an iPad? A lot of these students are basically working, and so they're maybe 40 to 50. Some of them had never even touched an iPad before. So it was, where's the home button? Where's the power button? Things like that. Okay, things that are sort of second nature to a lot of us, but things that actually need to be learned. So some of the obstacles we saw. Okay, wireless delivery of content. Students needed to be able to get the content while they are outside of campus, okay? Because we couldn't just give them materials now when they're on campus. We had this wonderful new toy, so we could wirelessly give things to them, okay? And we wanted to move the iPad beyond just basically being a new binder, and we wanted to actually use it within the actual classroom, okay? So what we did was we chose iTunes U as our sort of content destination, okay? And we had a little bit of an issue with iTunes U sort of to start, only because iTunes U is meant for a single course, whereas we wanted to sort of move an entire program to iTunes U, okay? So what we did was sort of our overview section here. We give a brief overview, but then for instructor, we actually list MBOE faculty instead of just having a single faculty name, okay? So if you scroll down, you can see all of the actual faculty there. And if you go to our outline, you can see that we still sort of organized our iTunes U course by these session binders, okay? So we ended up with session 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if we go to the posts area, you can see once we actually get into a session, you can see what these sort of look like, okay? So we have syllabus, we have this all in here, we have the bios, we have all the PowerPoint presentations, other documents, and then we also have been using Socrative in order to, basically students can do their eval straight from their iPad of these different presentations, okay? And then let me go ahead. I sort of skipped over, but this is good. So basically our first little module here in this course was basically recommended apps, guides, university resources. We wanted students to have this all at their fingertips as soon as they got into their course. Okay, so that's all here, front and center. And then we also have our book lists here, and we went ahead and linked all of the books that we could that are available on iTunes straight into this course. Because if you've used iTunes U before, they have this really cool thing where if you highlight stuff, it goes to the notes section in iTunes U. They're really, really well integrated. Okay, so we basically were encouraging them to get things on iBooks. We weren't making them, but said, it's a really cool feature. You should try it. Okay, so that's sort of how we're using iTunes U. And then if you look, we have we're now in session 7 of this initial cohort. Okay, so we now have this nice iPad tech survey where we're looking and planning for the next cohort and moving on to the next area. So basically what we're looking now for session 2 that's going to be starting up here in a few months, we're looking to get iPads again. I'm not sure if Apple's going to announce a new iPad before then. We'll find out. Okay, we're all, like waiting anxiously. Okay, but basically, iPads again. We're sort of debating right now if we're going to be using iTunes U again or moving straight to Carmen for all of our things. Because we still have a lot of our students that are still using PC to access all of their materials. They're pretty much just anti-iPad because they're like, what's this newfangled toy? I don't know how to use it. Okay, so basically we're looking at moving things to Carmen perhaps because right now our MBOE staff is basically putting things in 2 spots, iTunes U and Carmen. So we're basically doubling our workflow. Okay. So we're looking at maybe going straight to Carmen, and the new version of Carmen does play a lot nicer with the iPad than the old version does. Okay, and then we also would like to move everything so that it's not just being content and just actually doing content on here, but actually being used in the classroom. Okay, so we're looking at using Explain Everything to having basically students go out into their business and then be able to take recordings of different presentations that make it work, being able to put those back up to Buckeye Box, and then being able to actually share that with everyone. Okay, so we have a lot of new tools here in the second iteration, and we're hoping to get the faculty on board as we sort of move along. Okay, am I allowed to ask for questions? Are we moving on? No, moving on. Okay, we'll do. All right, moving on. Charlie will be next. Thanks.
The slides are on.
Are they already on there?
Oh, we just keep scrolling.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
I thought we were doing our own thing.
No.
All right, good morning. I'm Charlie Tang.
We give him the mic.
Oh,
Who's gonna
I don't need it. You can hear me in the back,
It's
right?
recording.
It's recorded.
I came late. I'm really sorry.
You're going to be on an album.
Oh, yeah?
I'm Ryan Barta. I'm a
You need it,
senior,
don't you?
Business operations management. Charlie's in computer science.
If I can get this thing working. All right, we're from the Ohio State University Marching Band. I was in the band for 5 years. Ryan, this is his 4th year. And we're here to talk about our 2013 pilot program with the marching band, something that Ryan and I came up with kind of like as a pipe dream on Facebook. And we've worked, with a couple of groups here, Digital First and ASC Tech, and it's really taken off. It's become a huge thing. I didn't know there was so much going on in other places in the university, so this is really exciting. It's exciting to be here. Here's a couple of just pictures of when we deployed it. Right now we have 45 with our squad leaders and staff members and directors of the marching band. So right now the directors use this Pieware program to write the drill that we do on the field. And typically we learn that by printing out packets of paper and taking it out to the field with us. You can imagine the problems with that. So we found this app online that actually does the animations and everything for us. So each student can have this on their device, looking at it, seeing the animation, something we've never been able to have in the past. Music reading and annotation is another big thing. We're using something called Fourscore. It's sort of like Notability optimized for music. You can set up, groups of music, make playlists. You can write on it just like you can in any PDF annotator. And you can even have a metronome playing in the background so it plays along with you. And there's better ways to turn pages. I mean, it's a huge, huge thing.
basically get music all year long. Huge stack of paper, and it's guaranteed that you lose a piece of music by the end. Because you have a concert near the end of the season that you have to have all your music for. So now it's all organized in this app, and all you have to do is remember your iPad, and you're ready to go.
Right. We'll get to the content stuff a little bit later. Yeah, so there's a lot of benefits. I mean, we all know the industry leader. They're coming out with new things all the time. Improves efficiency. People just love having it. You have everything in one spot, which is totally new. Unless you were using a binder before. If you were responsible, maybe you were doing that, but not many people did, as you can imagine. And so here's one of our critical applications that we're using, the Buckeye box. A lot of people are mentioning iTunes U. We're using this for our content distribution method because it's multi-platform. So you can get it on your iPad, you can get it on your iPhone, you can get it on your Android phone or tablet. So if we end up going to a bring your own device kind of model, we can just continue to use this Buckeye box thing, and it's supported by the university. So this has been a great thing. We're managing this all the time. The biggest problem is getting some old fogies that don't want to give away their PDFs to send us the information that we need, which you can imagine would be something that would be tough to deal with. So we have a win-loss column. Since we are a marching band, we deal with football. Getting people acclimated. I mean, I've heard a couple of comments already like students don't want to transition to it. What we found was that as soon as we gave them the devices, they began innovating immediately, way beyond the scope of what we imagined in the past. So that's definitely a win for us. Getting access to everything we need, I mean, we talked about that. Like, some people just don't want to give up their music. It's how they make their money. They don't want to put it online because they're afraid that you'll be able to Google it and steal the whole thing. Not the case, but that's what people are worried about. So that's a loss. I mean, that's something we need to deal with. Generating interest, getting feedback from the outside world. I mean, you've probably all seen the videos, so that's obviously been a huge win. I mean, way beyond what we imagined. Getting usable data, it's something we're still working on. I mean, to make this a successful pilot, we have to prove to the people that we're trying to prove it to that this worked. And we don't have all the data on that yet, so that's what we're still working on. Providing quick and consistent action. I mean, luckily, I don't have to go to the office to take care of problems. People send me an email. I can do it from class on my MacBook or whatever. So it's been pretty nice. And then training tools and an exit strategy are still things that we have to deal with. So when I'm gone, when Ryan's gone, how is this thing going to continue? I mean, I'm a student, Ryan's a student. There's not a staff member really like controlling this. So how do we make this thing sustain itself? That's the tough part. We have still to deal with that. That was probably less than 5 minutes. I'm moving this thing along. Any questions?
Roll one more.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. There you go. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. The next speaker is Mike Kaler, but I think it's not Mike Kaler. Is it Mike Kaler? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, here he is.
Actually, Mike Kaler is tied up in a curricular dean's meeting, and he'll be here shortly. But Mike Hoffer, who's just attended a pretty interesting Apple meeting, would like to just make a few comments. So we're going to let him go ahead and kind of jump in and share that with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Hoffer.
Hi, how's everybody? Good? I just want to give you a quick update because it's exciting to see all these things from Tim and Cynthia and Jacob and our students here sharing these projects. Last week, we were out in California for the football game, and I was asked to put together an executive session at Apple with the leaders from the university and the leaders at Apple to try to move this forward. So in that session, we had Provost Steinmetz, David Mandershine, who's the executive dean and the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Jeff Chattis, CFO, Blake Thomas, vice president for economic development, and Blake Thompson, and myself. And we had a great day. So we met with Michael Chow, who runs all of iPad for Apple. We met with John Couch, who's the head of Apple Education. We went with Peter Oppenheimer, who's the Apple CFO, and who I learned is the highest paid CFO in the entire country. We met with Joel Podlony, who is the former dean at the Yale School of Business, and now is the head of HR and runs Apple Academy. And then the highlight of the day is we actually got to meet with Tim Cook for about 20 minutes. And I was a little starstruck, I'm not going to lie. But what we got to do is show him all these things. From Tim's course to Cynthia's course to Stolfus's class to the marching band project to the MBA, I walked him through the entire iBook that we created about a digital first experience, and he was more than impressed. And I think that's the story that's so important. What he's used to hearing is, oh, we're going to put 500,000 iPads into LA city schools, and that's the end of the story. What we're doing is saying, this is how we're changing education, one program at a time. And when you hear these results from our students, who are now bringing forward initiatives like they did with the band, I really think we see the value in this. I know the people in this room see the value in it. So, I feel it's my job at the middle to get exposure for all of you that are doing these great things in these great venues. And Michael Chow, who runs the iPad program for Apple, was extremely, extremely excited about the band project and what they're doing. I mean, not that the other things aren't important, but I think he sees the visual aspect of how this can be very, very appealing to a mass audience, and that it's a student-generated project, right? This is two students that came forward and put together a really, really good proposal. So I think we're going to see even more traction around that. The second part of that day was I met with the folks from Cal Berkeley, a group similar to yourselves. Spent most of the afternoon on Friday there from about 1 to about 6:30 at night, and had a really great conversation around what we're doing here around all these things. Again, use our iBook, use our iTunes U course to show them what we've been doing, and they're just contemplating this, right? And I think so many times we think about, oh, we're behind. We are not behind. I'm telling you, we are not behind. It's people like Cynthia, it's people like Jacob who are taking these ideas and saying, how can I introduce this into my teaching and learning that are becoming, nationally recognized as leaders in this field. So I can't thank all you enough in this room for helping drive this forward. And I just want to close really quick with is Joe Padloni, who runs this Apple Academy, that he's the vice president for Apple, or for HR. Came from Yale, and he was brought on by Steve Jobs. And this was when Apple was going from 5,000 to roughly 20,000 people, right? And there's this culture change that has to go on in that, right? And now they have 80,000 people, right? And Steve brought him in and said, we have something special here at Apple, right? And there's 5,000 of us, and I know it's special, right? I want you to take that, put it in a bottle, and give that bottle to every person that walks in this door and have them drink it. And when they're done drinking it, they know what it's like to be an Apple employee, right? And so he talked a little bit about what that meant. And the fundamental principle in all of that was trust, right? It's the fundamental principle that they run their business off of. They are not run by organizational line, right? So, for example, their retail people are not supply chain people. Their retail people create the best retail experience that they can possibly create, and they trust that the supply chain team will get the products there, right? That's a vastly different model than anyone else uses, right? And I think it's one we have here. We trust each other that we're putting great ideas forward. We trust each other that we're moving forward together, and I think that's what makes all these things so successful. As I'm speaking for Mike in the back, I think it's a good example, right? So we have an initiative at the center called Digital First, and Alan and Mike, and they're running that through their college, whether it's iPads, whether it's blogs, whether it's whatever, right? We work closely with them, and we couldn't do it without them, right? And they play such an important role, whether it's EHE and Lynn and Laura, whoever, right? That these are, things that are here and things that are here and things that are out here, and we're all doing them together, and that's really exciting. And I think we've come a long way in the last 3 years to make some of these things happen. So it was an awesome trip. If anybody wants to know more, this is the best part. I got to tell you this because my one bragging story. So Tim Cook is there, and we go through the whole iBook, and he loves it. And he says, did you show him the new phone yet? And he says this to Stephanie Carullo, who's the Senior VP of Educational Sales and who's here on campus a lot. And she gives him this look, no words exchange, like, No, because some of us aren't just allowed to go around showing the new phone to whoever we want, right? And so he's like, well, do you want to see it? And of course we said yes. And he whipped out the new iPhone with iOS 7 on it and gave us a personalized tour of his iPhone. And he went to show us pictures because of the new camera and how clear they were. And he looked at them and said, oh, I can't really show you those. And so I was this close to seeing something I shouldn't see. But I will say this, and hopefully they were Apple stuff and not like something else. But I will tell you this, whatever you've read about this fingerprint technology that's coming out, it is, once you see it, it is a game-changing technology. It is not gimmicky. After I saw him open his iPhone with his thumb and I had to type in my password, and every day since I've had to type in my password, you see what a cumbersome and unsecure process that is. It is not a picture of your fingerprint. It is not storing your fingerprint. It's actually like pressure point technology on the button. You could do multiple fingers. We know only like 60% of people have a password on their mobile device. So this, I think, could be a really, really big change to how you interact with these devices. And it's really, really cool when you get to see it close up. And I said, does it really work? And he said, here, try it. And I hit it, and it said, you are not Tim Cook. And I said, great, thanks for that confidence boost this morning. But so anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'm going to stick around. It looks like Kaler has arrived. So is he on?
Yes, he is.
So without further ado, Mike Kaler. What's up, buddy?
Sir.
Good, how are you?
Thanks for holding the floor.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
This is you. You have the
Wow.
time to do that.
Oh, lonely. Can I advance the slides just off here, Tim?
Yeah,
All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Mike Kaler. If you don't know who I am, I oversee instructional technology for the College of Arts and Sciences. Thank you for your patience. I'm coming from a presentation that I had to do before this one. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, thank you for waiting for me to be here. I had another presentation to deal with. So anyhow, I'm going to go over Configurator, kind of a 10,000-foot view of the actual application itself, and kind of walk you through why we use it, why you may want to use it, and kind of some examples of what we've used it for in the past. So I have a real brief 3-slide PowerPoint to walk you through. With that being said, I shall start. So why use Configurator? Well, first and foremost, Configurator is a free app provided by Apple. In any situation short of a mobile device management solution, Configurator provides you the simplest way to deploy iPads in a bulk fashion. It does require you to be tethered to a system to do that, but it allows you to, as the slide shows, prepare devices, you can supervise the devices, and then you can assign those devices out to users as needed. Basic requirements to run Configurator is basically Mac OS X 10.75 or later. We run it right now off of a laptop, and we pretty much have had no issues running it. But I'll go into further detail about the slides, but that's basically why you would want to use Configurator. It's the free app provided by Apple at this point. I know I'm talking to this, sorry. So why profiles? Profiles are a big component of what Configurator allows you to do. So for example, if you have a set of iPads that are going to be used in a classroom, and they're going to be used for multiple classes needing different configuration profiles for each class, it allows you to define profiles for a particular class at a time, and then push that profile out to the iPads, customized for that environment that the iPads are going to be used in. So right here is a basic example of a profile that was designed for a EEOB 3320 course, and basically what that is we've walked through and we've defined what we want the app or the iPad to be able to do with the apps. We've defined security, and we've defined wireless connectivity through profiles. So again, if we were going to use these iPads in more than one class, we would be able to design profiles through Configurator that we could just push out to the devices depending on the area or customization that they would need for that class. Yes?
Cynthia talked a little bit earlier about those 2 classes we did that.
Okay. Anyhow, very efficient. Probably, a 10-minute turnaround if you were going to hook iPads back into a syncing card of some sort, push out a new profile, update it, and then use them again. No longer than that usually. It also allows you to back up your configurations and use those for later instances as needed. A big piece of the actual profile itself is deploying different apps. So here in this example, which I don't know if I can frame it in all the way, but no. Basically what we got here is an example of a profile being pushed out. The iPads are in supervised mode, which is required if you're going to do any type of volume purchase plan type apps that you're going to use with the iPads. But what I was trying to show here is these are free apps that are going out, and over where we can't see the column, it basically lists that as a free app, and then this would be a VPP or a volume purchase plan app, and over here it would show you that it had 16 licenses available to be pushed out to iPads. So again, it's a way to manage your apps as well as settings all within a profile for the iPads that would be used in a kind of classroom setting. So with that being said, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to kind of go in more detail on what supervised, unsupervised mode, and those kind of things. Okay, sorry. Yes.
How long does it take to swap out between classes? Say with Cynthia's class, you had to take the 3320 profile off and put the new profile on the group.
Typically turnaround was like 10 minutes when we would use them in Cynthia's class. We would configure the iPads, set up a new profile, and push it back out, and I don't think we saw any time past 10 minutes for that. So.
Any groups using our stuff right now, our Brentford card?
We have a few different groups currently using the Brentford cart. Basically, the way Arts and Sciences approaches kind of mobile technology and iPads, we have a system set up. We allow people to come in and use that system if they want to use it to configure their own devices. We kind of walk them through Configurator real quickly, help them define a profile, and then it's up to them to come use our equipment. We just schedule a time in to let them come and use it. So we have kind of a distributed approach. We're happy to define the profiles. We're happy to push them out for you, but we do appreciate if someone wants to come in and learn it, and we allow you to come access the equipment as needed. Not the most efficient way to go about it, but it does allow for people to come in and kind of manage their own devices and not have to bring us into the loop every time. So
that's what the band is using to manage theirs?
Yep.
Is our Brentford card?
Marching band and communications would be the two big groups right now that are actually sharing the infrastructure on what we're doing. So. I apologize for sweating. I walked across. Sure.
And then you're going to introduce the next speaker behind you.
Yeah. Our next speaker would be Jacob Bain. Didn't do very well talking into that. So
Yeah, it's great.
good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Hello again. So I'll make this really brief because I know that we are about out of time. So basically, it's my job to sort of tell you how do you stay in touch with this group, after this meeting. So let me go ahead and pull up the main ways to do that. So basically, first way to do that is actually using the OSU Yammer site. There is an iPads in the Classroom group. If you need help in terms of how to figure out how to get there, go ahead and email me. I'm Bain.17, and I'll give you just a quick set of, basically this is like the website. How do you log in? Second place to stay in touch, is the actual iPads in the Classroom blog. So this is u.osu.edu/IPCC, And so as you can see, we sort of have the actual Yammer site, on here with a brief little how-to, and then we have a little announcement about today's meeting. The third and final way to actually stay in touch is go ahead and use Twitter. We are #ITOSU, or is it LTOSU? Okay, LTOSU, and that's pretty much the exact, basically way to stay involved through Yammer. And basically on Yammer, we already have over 70 members in that group. So basically pose, questions, get thoughts back, things like that. Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to Cynthia.
Thanks. Okay, my job is to close the session here and just tell you something about what this group is. This is iPads in the Classroom community. That's what the IPCC stands for. And what we had planned to do as a group is meet about twice a semester. One time usually we were thinking maybe as a formal presentation, and another as a brown bag kind of exchange ideas type of thing. And that's what we have coming up now on November 7th in 115 Stillman. From 12 to 1, we'll have an informal brown bag, bring your lunch. We'll share ideas if you want to talk to somebody about how they configure their iPads or about a certain app, or you want to trade ideas on apps or trade ideas on pedagogy. That's the time where it's kind of just a free let's trade ideas kind of thing. And then as a group of the iPad community here, these are the 4 kind of groups that we've split ourselves into to try, and almost like committees, you know, but we're not going to call them, we call them brain trusts, not committees, brain trusts. That sounds much better, I guess. Anyway, there's a leadership and planning brain trust that just kind of makes sure that we have meetings twice a semester and kind of plans those and kind of coordinates things. Then we have a group that looks at different methods of pedagogy. Apps may say, oh, we have a great speaker on apps, or let's do this one apps or something like this, and it may turn into a presentation. A group on deployment, like configuring your iPads and all that stuff, plugging them in, like, I just said, I want to do this. And then Mike came along and Alan came along and Paul came along and said, okay, and they did it. So, so that's the deployment part, and then the communication, which Jacob just talked to you about, was communicating about this group, but also communicating to the rest of the OSU community what you can do with iPads in terms of teaching, and bringing more faculty, more people on board to see what's going on and see how the iPads can be used. And then I'm just going to briefly mention the Exploring Learning Technology Unconference is coming up on October 23rd. From 9 to 1:30. It's a great time over in Ramsire. And I know there's going to be people from here over there if you want to explore some more, talk to people about iPads. I'm sure there'll be people there as well that you can interact with. And so with that,